Hi everyone, so I'm Jet, and we talk about Hurricane Milton here and more. So, Milton could also be a once in a lifetime storm. Yeah, I mean Hurricane Milton could deliver worst hit to Tampa Bay in 100 years. That's really saying something because Tampa has been hit with some really bad hurricanes before. I mean, it makes me think of Hurricane Ian from 2022. And even, Hurricane Helene, and, that one was a Category 4, and even though that didn't directly hit Tampa, I mean, Hurricane Helene was a killer. I mean, it killed hundreds of people, and it caused so much damage for hundreds of miles, and it just did so many bad things. Like, Helene was horrible. And it unfortunately killed hundreds of people. Um, you know, there was probably even millions of people, like thousands, even millions of people impacted from Helene. Like, Helene was a killer. Like, Helene was already bad, and Milton's even worse. It seems like it's going to be even worse than Helene. And, Helene was already, a very, very, very deadly storm, unfortunately. And, killed hundreds of people and knocked out power. And it just caused so much damage for hundreds and hundreds of miles. So, but yeah, Helene was a killer, and unfortunately, looks like Milton is also going to be a killer hurricane as well. I mean, it's already gotten up to Category 5 stats. It's had rapid intensification today. It's already a Category 5. Early today, I saw it at Category 2, and then once I got home from school, it was around 2:30. It was Category 5. And when I left, I think it was about 6:30 Eastern Time. And then when I came home, it was at 2:30 Eastern Time. It's Category 5. We went from a 2 to a 5 in about 8 hours. Yeah, I mean, current information, 180-mile-per-hour winds, Category 5, moving east at 10 miles per hour. At a glance, Milton has rapidly intensified in the Gulf of Mexico. Hurricane and storm surge warnings are in effect along Florida's western Gulf Coast. Milton will bring life-threatening storm surge and damaging winds to Florida midweek. Heavy rainfall will bring a widespread flooding threat. Hurricane Milton is continuing to intensify and now ranks among the most intense Atlantic hurricanes on record, with wind speeds at or above 180 miles per hour and minimum pressure below 90 millibars, or 900 millibars, excuse me. But yeah, minimum pressure below 900 millibars and winds at or above 180 miles per hour. Wow. Hurricane storm surge warnings are now posted along Florida's western Gulf Coast, where the storm will bring life-threatening storm surge, destructive winds, and flooding rainfall by midweek. If Milton stays on its course, it will be the most powerful hurricane to hit Tampa Bay in over 100 years. No one in this area has ever experienced a hurricane this strong before, warned the National Weather Service in Tampa Bay. If you're in an area prone to storm surge, follow the advice of local officials and evacuate if ordered to do so. There's a serious situation with National Hurricane Center forecasting a storm surge as much as 10 to 15 above ground level along the western Florida Gulf Coast, including the Tampa Bay area if peak surge arrives at high tide. Here's where hurricane and storm surge alerts are in effect. A hurricane warning is in effect along much of the western Gulf Coast of Florida, from Bonita Beach northward to the mouth of the Suwannee River, including Tampa Bay. This means hurricane sustained winds of 74 miles per hour or higher, which, it's at 180 right now, or around that. Conditions are possible within the warning area, generally within 36 hours. Tropical storm watches extend north and south of the hurricane watch in Florida's Big Bend, along the southwest Florida coast. Mexico's northern Yucatan Peninsula is also under a hurricane and tropical storm alerts. Storm surge warning stretches from Flamingo northward to the Swanee River, including Charlotte Harbor and Tampa Bay. This means a life-threatening water rise from storm surge possible in the area generally within 36 hours. So tropical storm warning in effect here. We also have it in effect for parts of the Yucatan Peninsula with a hurricane watch in some parts in the orange, as well as a hurricane warning. We got Cancun right there. And then in Florida, we got tropical storm warnings in the northwestern part of Florida, as well as parts of the Florida Peninsula. Same thing, or the Florida Panhandle. Yeah, so parts of northwestern Florida, as well as the Florida Panhandle, as well as the Florida Keys, western Florida, western and central Florida, tropical storm warning there, including Naples. And then a hurricane warning right around Tampa, and I believe that also does affect Orlando as well, in central Florida. And then we got hurricane watch along the eastern, northeastern part of Florida, including Jacksonville. And then we got a tropical storm watch going up the eastern Georgia coast, up to Charleston. I think even a little bit of southeastern and South Carolina. And then also affecting southeastern Florida, including Miami. Have tropical storm watch there in the yellow as well. And again, a lot of these areas already got hit with Helene just a few weeks ago. And they're still trying to recover from Helene. And from what I've heard, they're trying to move all the debris, before Milton hits. Here's the latest stats on Milton. The hurricane is churning over the western Gulf of Mexico, 675 miles southwest of Tampa. It's a strong Category 5 hurricane with 180-mile-per-hour winds and is tracking east at 10 miles per hour. Milton more than doubled the criteria for rapid intensification. The National Hurricane Center has called its intensification explosive. Kind of makes me also think back to Hurricane Otis, too, which was in the Pacific last year, and that had rapid intensification in less than 24 hours, and the same thing here with Milton. And Otis went from a 1 to a 5 in less than 24 hours, and I believe hit western Mexico on October 25th, 2023. And it was just so devastating what Otis did. And unfortunately, it looks like Milton, like I said before, also looks like it's going to be a killer hurricane. And I keep on saying that, but but that's also why you got to be prepared here too. And from what I've heard on the Weather Channel as well, with the storm surge as well, it could be record breaking from what I've heard from the Weather Channel. But it's basically going to be to the point where if there's an emergency and you're trapped, I've heard in some cases it'll be impossible for 911 to get to you. For the emergency services to get to you. So that's what I heard on the Weather Channel this morning. But yeah, its winds increased from 65 miles per hour at 10 a.m. Central Daylight Time on Sunday to 160 miles per hour at 11 a.m. Central Daylight Time Monday. That 95 mile per hour wind increase in just over 24 hours is among the most extreme bouts of rapid intensification ever observed in the Atlantic Basin. Wow. And this is where Milton is as of 6:45 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time in the Gulf of Mexico. Right near, or parts of it are affecting the Yucatan Peninsula. Here's the latest timing and intensity forecast. Milton may continue strengthening some and could remain a Category 5 strength for a time into Tuesday over the Gulf of Mexico. The forecast calls for Milton to undergo some weakening on approach to Florida because of increasing wind shear and dry air, but it should remain a major hurricane through landfall and sometime later Wednesday and early Thursday. important to note that this possible weakening won't reduce the impacts we see from Milton, including storm surge. Milton could also grow larger on approach to Florida, allowing its wind, storm surge, and rainfall impacts to sprawl out across a bigger area. So this is Hurricane Milton at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, 180 mile per hour winds moving east at 10 miles per hour. Tuesday p.m., 175 miles per hour. Wednesday early a.m., 160 miles per hour. Wednesday p.m., 145 miles per hour. Thursday early a.m., 125 miles per hour. Thursday p.m., 85 miles per hour. And then Friday p.m., 65 miles per hour. So this is an impact forecast here. So storm surge, the latest National Hurricane Center forecast calls for storm surge to be as much as 10 to 15 feet above ground level if peak surge coincides with high tide along the west central Florida Gulf Coast, including Tampa Bay. Storm surge could be as much as 6 to 10 feet as far south as Fort Myers Beach and in areas north of Tampa Bay. The upper end of the storm surge forecast materializes for the Tampa Bay area. It would be the highest there in more than a century. However, expect adjustments to the storm surge forecast shown below based on future track updates from Milton. Storm surge will be the most destructive near and to the south of where the storm center crosses the coast. As mentioned earlier, if you're in an area prone to storm surge, you should follow the advice of local officials and evacuate if ordered. Storm surge should start building up on Wednesday before likely peaking Wednesday night and early Thursday. Low tide on much of the west coast of Florida is Wednesday afternoon, and high tide is Thursday morning. The peak storm surge forecast above ground level. Peak surge occurs at high tide, so 1 to 3 feet above ground level for parts of Florida Peninsula. Same with parts of coastal South Carolina, and then 2 to 4 along the coast of southeastern South Carolina, as well as parts of the coast of Georgia, as well as 2 to 4 feet along the coast of Georgia, or actually no, 3 to 5. Yeah, 3 to 5 feet along the southeastern coast of Georgia into northeastern Florida. Same thing here between the 1 to 3 and the Florida Peninsula. In northwestern Florida, and then 2 to 4 feet along the central Florida coast. And then we got 5 to 10 north of Tampa Bay, and then 10 to 15 feet right around Tampa and Tampa Bay and areas south of there. And then south of that, we got 6 to 10 feet. And then south of that, 4 to 7 feet. South of that, 3 to 5 feet. Well, it's 3 to 5 over here as well, and then 1 to 3 feet for the Florida Keys. So the rainfall has been soaking Florida since the weekend because of a front draped across the state. Flood watches are posted across much of the Florida Peninsula because of this rain preceding Milton's arrival and rainfall from the hurricane itself by midweek. Totals across the Florida Peninsula could be 5 to 10 inches, with locally up to 15 inches through Thursday. This could lead to considerable flash flooding and river flooding. I mean, the orange here, like rainfall forecast, 5 to 8 inches. And, I'm seeing 3 to 5, 5 to 8, even 8 to 12 in parts of northeastern Florida. And again, keep in mind, a lot of these areas also have been impacted, by Helene. And they've also been getting a lot of rain because, again, that front we were talking about before. So these areas are already completely drenched, and now they're just going to get completely wiped out, from the storm surge and the rain. And, now we're going to talk about the wind damage from Milton. This system has potential to bring damaging winds to the western Florida Gulf Coast beginning Wednesday. The strongest winds capable of structural damage, downing trees, knocking out power. Yeah, so downing trees and knocking out power will occur near where the center of Milton crosses the coast and then tracks inland Through central Florida, power outages may last for days in these areas. Areas farther away from the landfall point in the Florida Peninsula will see some strong wind gusts as well that could at least down trees and cause scattered power outages. Any hurricane preparations or recovery and rebuilding efforts, recovery and rebuilding efforts again from Helene, and then preparations now for this Hurricane Milton, because again, a lot of areas also were impacted by Helene too. Should be finished by Tuesday evening. After that time, those efforts could be dangerous. Below is a look at the peak wind threat based on the current track of Milton. Note that the forecast could shift in future updates. Over 110 plus miles per hour. Again, Milton's a Category 5, has 180 mile per hour winds. Right around the Tampa Bay area, and areas a little bit far south of that, or a little bit right around the Tampa Bay area and a little bit to the south of that. Naples is right around the 74 to 109 mile per hour range, as much as central as well as eastern Florida, and even parts north of the Tampa area, including Daytona Beach. You can imagine Orlando is probably in there as well. And then we got 58 to 73 mile per hour winds. Parts of south central Florida, as well as northern Florida, including northeastern Florida, Jacksonville. 39 to 57 mile per hour winds possible, including Tallahassee, Miami, southern Florida, Florida Panhandle, going into southern Georgia, as well as a little bit South Carolina. And then from there, 38 miles per hour or lower. Southeastern North Carolina, eastern South Carolina, including Charleston, parts of Georgia, even a little bit of southeastern Alabama, and the parts of Florida Panhandle. And then tornadoes, an isolated tornado threat may develop in much of west central and southern Florida by Tuesday night. The threat of a few tornadoes will then continue Wednesday and Wednesday night in the central and southern Florida Peninsula. Check back with us at weather.com for updates in the coming days as details come more into focus. I do also want to take a look here at zoomers too. Okay, again, this is where Milton is right now. 180 miles per hour winds. It might even go up to 185. By Tuesday 2 a.m. This is what the last several hours have looked like. Because right now, it is affecting Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula. And again, like a lot of these areas, like parts of Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, that are like areas that are getting affected by Milton have already gotten affected by Helene. And, and also, I do want to mention too, all the areas that have been affected by Helene, again, it's just so devastating. Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, I believe the effects went all the way up, even into Virginia or even Kentucky, but I believe parts of Alabama also got affected as well. But yeah, Helene was a killer. It's just very devastating what Helene has done. And definitely, if you can, you definitely want to also donate to the Red Cross as well, to those who have been affected. Yeah, continuous response, Red Cross helping Helene survivors while preparing to respond to Hurricane Milton. Yeah, I mean, look at this. It's just devastating. This is in Asheville, North Carolina's River Arts District. You see the road completely paving it. The road completely caving in. Excuse me. Just completely caved in there, and it just looks horrible. And it's just terrifying to see. Like, it's so sad, you know. A handwritten sign warning of gas leak sits beneath a sunken portion of a road in Asheville, North Carolina's River Arts District. The popular neighborhood is along Broad, the French Broad River, which experienced massive flooding during Hurricane Helene. A bicyclist stands next to a large debris pile at the entrance to Craven Street Bridge in Asheville, North Carolina's River Arts District. The surge of floodwater brought on by Hurricane Helene pushed debris over the banks of French Broad River, severely damaging the bridge and adjacent street. And again, just look at all that damage there. Staff members of the Asheville Adventure Company stand on the roadside next to the French Broad River in Asheville, North Carolina, where the rafting company is based. Red Cross team members gave the group cases of bottled water after some said their homes have been without water and electricity since the storm hit 4 days earlier. Yeah, you can see here, again, just all the damage, destruction, devastation. You know, there are shelters open across North Carolina. Here are Red Cross volunteer signs and evacuees in a shelter in Charlotte. Red Cross disaster responders are working around the clock with our partners in North Carolina to get help to those in need. Flooding caused by Hurricane Helene devastates the historic Biltmore Village in Asheville, North Carolina. Helene is an example of how extreme weather is becoming more frequent and intense due to the climate crisis. And again, you could just see here just all the flooding. It's just devastating. Flooding caused by Hurricane Helene devastates Asheville, North Carolina. I mean, again, it's just absolutely devastating here, all the debris and just all the flooding. Joyce and Richard Parker are at the Simpsonville, South Carolina shelter after Hurricane Helene knocked out power to their travelers rest home. Joyce uses an oxygen concentrator, which requires power to operate. Parkers are grateful to the Red Cross for providing this shelter until the power comes back on, which is good. They definitely got the help that they needed. You know, and I'm hoping that everyone is doing okay from this. You know, I'm hoping that everyone got the help that they needed. You know, like, I'm just hoping everyone got, help that they needed, and I'm just hoping everyone's okay and safe. And it's just devastating what Helene has done, and unfortunately, Milton also looks like it's going to be devastating as well. Red Crossers serve hot meals at a shelter in Augusta, Georgia. After Hurricane Helene, many in the city struggle for the basics: food, water, electricity, and shelter. Helene left Valdosta, Georgia, heavily damaged with trees down on houses and no power throughout the region. You could just see all the power lines there. Again, just all the damage and just all the hanging wires. Red Cross team member Stephen Walsh looks out over a large pile of debris left behind from flooding caused by Hurricane Helene in Boone, North Carolina, while residents and government agencies have already begun to clean up debris piles, down power lines, and broken concrete remain throughout much of the town. Was surprised, said Donna Napier. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly. When Red Cross volunteer Erica Santella Center and Tom Rondine Wright delivered hot meals through the neighborhood to help those affected by the devastation caused by Hurricane Helene storm surge. When Donna found out that Erica was a volunteer, she said, "Thank you so much for giving us your time and coming here for all across the country to help. This is going to cheer everybody up. Just knowing someone cares makes a difference." And it's definitely good that, again, like, that everyone's getting the help, is definitely getting help from this. And I'm just hoping that everyone is okay and safe, and we will rebuild from Helene. It's just so devastating to know what's done, and unfortunately all the deaths and the injuries is caused. But I'm going to link this in the description below. And again, like I've been saying, unfortunately, it looks like Milton's going to be another killer hurricane. I keep on saying that, but it just looks like it's going to be another hurricane. It's just going to cause, like, just because of all the winds and the storm surge. I mean, possibly could be the strongest hurricane to hit Tampa. If it does hit Tampa, in 100 years, in a century. And honestly, I think that's honestly a pretty good title for it. I mean, my vidIQ came up here, and honestly, I think that's pretty accurate. And actually, I might title this live stream that, because, yeah, I mean, it's just devastating what Helene's, not Helene. Well, it's devastating what Helene has done, but it's also going to be devastating what Milton is going to do as well. And, we're still, and, Helene was only a few weeks ago. And I know there was, this time last month, like about, 3 weeks ago or so, 3 weeks to a month ago, the Atlantic was relatively quiet. And I believe from what I've heard, that was because of, and I believe that was because of, I believe part of it was, because of the dust, coming off off of Africa from the Sahara, but also, from what I remember hearing, but also I believe it was because of high pressure as well over the U.S., creating a lot of the heat and stuff, it being really hot, like the heat dome. And I think from what I've heard, like, despite us being in La Nina now, because usually La Nina is in the Atlantic, there's less wind shear as compared to, last year in 2023 we were in El Nino. So usually the Atlantic last year, we still had some pretty powerful storms. Surprisingly, there was none retired last year, which honestly I thought there was going to be some storms retired last year, like Idalia, for example, because I thought, storms like Idalia were going to be retired, because I know Idalia was a really bad storm, but they didn't retire it, at least from what I saw on Wikipedia, which is surprising. But yeah, from what I've seen though, the past week or two, since Helene, there's been a lot of hurricanes and tropical storms that have popped up. And unfortunately, Milton looks like it's going to be another one. And again, unfortunately, another hurricane that's going to cause a tons of devastation. Unfortunately, like Helene did. But yeah, definitely, definitely please do donate to the Red Cross if you can. You know, again, I'll link them into the description below. And I also do link some sources as well that I also have went over and talked about in my Helene live streams as well. But yeah, I'll link these in the description below if you want to go check it out for yourself. But yeah, please definitely stay safe out there, everyone, as always. Please, especially from, because I mean, again, Milton looks like it's going to be another killer hurricane, and it's just devastating, And I do also want to take a look here at the power outages real quick as well. Because again, I mean, we still got over 123 customers out, North Carolina, because they just got hit so hard by Helene. And unfortunately, the impacts of Helene, they're going to be lasting a while. I mean, they could last for several years, unfortunately, And looks like same thing here with Milton, because Milton's going to just be record-breaking, and it's going to be, it's going to be a very devastating hurricane. But yeah, I mean, we still got over 123 customers out. In Bancombe County alone, we got over 67,000 customers out there. Just devastating. And then in Georgia, we still got over 63,000 customers out there, I mean, Coffee County, over 10,000 customers are out there, 10,440. And again, it's just devastating, all the destruction that has been caused by Helene, like I've been talking about. I mean, over 24,000 customers are out in South Carolina. It's just devastating, it really is. And I'm also going to put the Power Outage US in the description below as well. And I do want to also show one more thing here too. Again, I put all this stuff in the description below, and if you want to go check it out for yourself. Yeah, please stay safe out there, everyone, as always. But I do also want to show here, I have it set in Tallahassee, but I kind of just want to show where this is going to go over the next few hours here. This load would be nice. I'll put it on Tampa, actually. It's annoying how it does that. But yeah, there's Milton right there. But yeah, I linked everything in the description below if you want to go check it out for yourself. But yeah, please definitely stay safe out there, everyone, as always. Please follow up all the proper precautions and actions to keep you safe and everyone else safe. Again, I put all this stuff in the description below as well, but I'll just go over it real quick here before I end off this live stream. I'll probably be doing a radar live stream as well, probably tomorrow or Wednesday. But yeah, I'll just read this over here real quick, and I have, again, the Red Cross in the description below, flash.org in the description below, wear.com, as well as poweroutage.us in the description below as well as Zoom Earth as well, if you want to go check those sites out for yourself for more information. But before hurricane season begins on June 1st every year, prepare for storms by finding your evacuation zone, deciding where to shelter, building your disaster supply kit, and strengthening your home. Do not tape your windows. Visit the Hurricane Storm website and use a checklist to complete your plan today. To prepare your business organization for a hurricane, download the free Ready Business Hurricane Toolkit to kickstart your planning. It is critical time to stay safe and put your disaster preparedness plan into action during a hurricane. This is during the hurricane. Take all the safety precautions, monitor the storm, and follow the advice of authorities, especially if they order evacuations. If you don't evacuate, stay indoors and shelter in an interior, windowless room during high winds. And after, down power lines, contaminated water and flooded roadways can create hazardous conditions. Stay indoors until authorities say it's safe to leave or return home. Use generators safely during power outages. Take photos of property damage. Make temporary repairs to prevent third damage, and file a claim with your insurance company. Plan to repair and rebuild resistantly to prevent damage from future hurricanes. But yeah. So I have all the links in the description below if you want to go check them out for yourself. And yeah, please just stay safe out there, everyone, as always. If you're told to evacuate, definitely please do so. But yeah, please stay safe out there, everyone, as always. And I will see all of you in the next live stream. So I hope that all of you enjoyed. Stay safe as always. And I will see all of you in the next live stream. Stay safe out there, everyone. Bye.